Well, at a time when India was going cashless, one guy was raking it in. Joining us today is Vijay Shekhar Sharma, the founder of Paytm, on what marks this 1 year since demonetisation was announced. And he's going to talk to us about what the journey has been for Paytm and for the digital payments business in India. Vijay, let me start by asking you where you were exactly a year ago on that fateful evening when you heard this news. One newspaper report suggested that you were at some business dinner with Harsh Goenka and your eyes just fell out.
Oh, well, I think, yes, last year, same day, there was a business award evening in Bombay. So I was part of that business award function, and I had collected the award, so I wanted to show a photo of that, and that's how I opened my zero-ring phone, seeing what is there in WhatsApp. And then what I end up finding is that it is filled up with messages, and quickly I learned that, oh, what has happened? And then I was very uncomfortable in the room, trying to think, has it been understood by someone in the room? Do people know? And I asked him that, Mr. Harsh Goenka was sitting next to me, said, do you know what has happened? And then obviously I wanted to quickly get out of the room and get out to call my team that what should we do next, and so on and so forth. So yes, last year, today was one of those incredible day for as a technology company, as a payment startup, and the whole technology ecosystem, I'd say.
All right, if I may put down some landmarks in the year for you and at everybody at Paytm. You're now at somewhere north of 250 million customers with the goal of getting to 500 million by 2020. That's a public goal. You're at a network of 5.5 million merchants. I read somewhere that a year ago you were doing about 1.7 million daily transactions. Today you do between 7.5 to 8 million transactions. And somewhere in the course of all of this, you also morphed into becoming a payments bank, and you outlined certain goals that you intended to achieve as a payments bank. So you said one of the first things, and I remember this in a conversation you did with my colleague Ira, where you said one of the first things was to migrate the Paytm customers to the payments bank and then to start offering them more services. How close have you reached that goal of being able to offer wealth management, etc., to your payments bank's customers?
Yeah, I think payment journey gave birth to payments bank opportunity, and we've launched a deposit account, and we've not launched yet a current account for businesses, but a savings account and completely digital only yet, which means that you have a digital debit card, you have capability to do money transfer and incoming and outgoing using digital methods. So we're today the truest mobile first, digital first bank in the country. And next thing that we're doing is that we are adding wealth management product there. So we have a super liquid fixed deposit. So a fixed deposit account which is totally zero cost for money in, money out, and your money can swipe in at your setting basis and can come out on your demand basis 24/7, zero cost of money in, money out from your savings account to a wealth management account and vice versa. So these services are continuously being added. We are looking to call it a formal launch once we have added a current checking account, a current bank account also, and that we are expecting by next month we would have publicly launched it. So payment gave birth to payment bank, and now payment bank is expanding the customer base to lending and insurance and other additional financial services. So yes, last 3 years what we built is giving birth to the digital age or mobile age financial services company.
Vijay, I'm sorry to sound a little naive in all of this. I must confess to being a bit of a Luddite. I've not yet converged or moved to the digital payment thing, though I do have a Paytm account thanks to my use of Uber. But tell me, why is it that and I know you've seeded this market, you've done fabulously well over the last few years, but why is it that you will not at some point have to counter the threat from traditional banks, and many of them are now picking up speed in being able to provide many of the services that you already do? And how do you see that competition panning out in the next decade or so? What will keep you ahead of all of them?
Yeah, I think there is no secret about it that all banking and financial services companies sort of are the first right of refusal on the customer base and the services that we provide, because they either have a relationship or have a product and capability. But I think either due to their business plan obligation or due to their business strategies, they have not reached to the customers who are lower cost, lower value, higher cost, lower value, or in their ecosystem or business sense, it ends up becoming non-optimum customers. But in our technology-first business model and mobile-first business model, even a customer who has 100 rupee to deposit and 100 rupee to take out from ATM ends up making money for us. And it is very easy for us to take care of whole workflow, customer process, and technology systems can allow lower cost base for our banking services to be delivered. So as you are saying, I also believe that traditional banks sort of can do nearly everything that we can do. It is just that we are built up, bottom up, without obligations of cost that they are built up with. And we are also digitally savvy enough and distributed enough that we do not have an obligation of building physical distribution at a scale that as they have. But now looking at other way around from our side of the world view, I'll say that I've also learned that many banks in the country, or let's say the banking sector of the country, does not necessarily want every customer. Jan Dhan accounts were sort of government obligation on them, so they built up Jan Dhan account ecosystem. But as a Paytm, we would love to take every Jan Dhan account on our bank account, and we can serve them very easily.
But you think that this advantage will survive the next couple of years? I get what you're saying about being able to service even the smallest ticket customer without very high overhead costs. But how long do you think? Because financial technology is a space that's constantly changing. This advantage will survive the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. What will pose the biggest threat to your business model from here on?
Yeah, I think no technology is magically good enough for next 3 to 5 years. They're good of 1 year now, 1 year, 2 year, and optimally for 3 years. But like you said it, and like I would say this, the customer's need and optimization of technology will be a continuous process, and the traditional banks sort of have a leg here. They source technologies from third parties. Those third parties build technologies once they are popular or correctly successful, and those successful and correct technologies are built by companies like us who are themselves producing technology. So this is sort of a leg. What we build unless it becomes successful, no third party company will make it. So Paytm's payments instrument, the wallet, the QR code, you can see very clearly all these things came after 2 years lag in traditional banks also. So I think the opportunity for us continuously remains that this 2 or 3 years runway that we have in the business, which we continuously keeping forward, and traditional banks continue to come back later and checkbox that, is our opportunity. Banks are banking product. We are a technology company who learns banking. Banking companies are not the technology companies. That's the difference, and that continues to remain long term.
Vijay, there are companies who like to give conservative targets. There are companies who like to give lofty targets and make a big leap to achieve them. Your targets, as I read from one of the newspaper reports, you want to double your users to 500 million users.
Anti-gravity moon landing. These two are the words that should be recognized with us. We believe that a disproportionate amount of target setting helps team rally around those targets and achieve them. And I think we've been able to be lucky that we've not just achieved those, we've crossed those targets too. And I've been very publicly open about it that we'll be 500 million bank customers who are biometrically verified and confirmed by 2020.
So this is not conservative. This is not lofty, really. You presume this is something that is very realistic for you.
Yeah, that's right. No way. Okay. I mean, we'll be the largest bank by the customer base in this country.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Okay.
That's our ambition. We want to be like a certain percentage of population in the market.
Okay, fair call. The other bit of the question is that you have to admit that the move on November 8th gave a big leg up to a company like yours, to the system like yours. You are at a much higher base than what you were at. The growth rates that you've displayed over the last 12 months, or arguably over the last 24 months, how easy will it be to keep pace with those? Because you won't have a benefit of a move like that, like demonetization, and you are at a much higher base than what you used to be at.
Yeah, and if I can just add to Neeraj's point, actually all the data suggests, all the data, Vijay, suggests that many of the gains that were made last year are now sort of equalizing, right? The big sort of bump ups that we saw in digital payments and all of that, they're all reverting to mean in that sense. So really, do you expect to be able to do that kind of insane growth over the next few years? Sorry, just to add to the question.
Yeah, I think I agree there that there is no secret about it that people were obligated to use technology and obligated to use mobile-based payment systems from today onward last year. But at the same point of time, given a choice, they've come back to cash. And what has changed is that this country now knows how and what is mobile payment and how does it work. And this country also knows what are the different technologies that can be used in banking ecosystem. There is no secret about it that leg up to the growth of the mobile payment will no more be now necessarily required from government only, but the businesses like us, businesses and the banks like everybody else have to build business solutions, services, charges and capabilities that incentivize consumers and businesses to use digital. Right now, in some cases, digital ends up becoming inferior as a cost over the cash. So that's why the cash continues to remain preferred in some situations. The percentage of growth of the payments may not be same, but other services like deposits, like lending, like we talked about wealth management, those things will definitely grow. So I don't think that we are looking at it as that, oh, payment systems need to grow the same numbers. What I'm looking at is as Paytm is that can we convert it into an opportunity of being a financial services company while payments definitely continue to grow by number of use cases that we are doing. Even at an organic level, the pace that we're talking about, you saw that P2P can get large volume. So these numbers can grow actually.
And can it get you to profitable growth? And I'm not for even a moment assuming that last year was not a profit, but the previous two reported numbers that we have were not profitable growth numbers. Can it revert back to profitable growth in a matter of maybe 6 months, 12 months, 18 odd months?
Yeah, so one of the important KPI that we look at it, net of cost of banking, like payment gateway and card network costs, and net of cashback, marketing, etc. Are we profitable or not? Two costs, people cost and cloud technology cost, we account below the net contribution margin. So Paytm is a net contributing profitable business. It is, we don't recover the cost of people, we don't recover the cost of cloud platform. And I believe as an investment, we'll continue to aggressively invest in that, which means that we are saying till the time we are net contribution positive, we are in the neck up state and we don't have to bother about the cost of people and cost of cloud technology because the number of things that we are end up doing continue to grow. To the point that can the business become profitable? Just like Amazon's business is very popularly known that internally some line items are profitable while total sigma combined level they don't end up reporting large profit is the state in our case. A lot of our payment verticals are profitable and maybe the whole payment vertical is profitable if you were to look at that. So we do believe that at a company level internally different line items will generate profit. At a combined level we'll remain invested and investing for next 3-4 years for sure.
Yeah, I know. I think you've put a number of some 5,000 crores over the next few years, but a lot of our conversation has been about the medium and long term. I want to talk about some immediate issues. For instance, you've seen some new regulatory moves when it comes to enhanced KYC and also interoperability of wallets, and that is expected to have some sort of negative impact, especially on you as the leader of the space. Can you talk us through what the impact has been?
Yeah, I think let's look at the first obligation of KYC. We're very clear about it that we want to acquire banking customers. KYC is an entry of a bank customer, so it sort of grows on us that we will grow bank customer space faster. Earlier, the customers could have been a customer of Paytm without requiring much KYC done, but now we will do KYC, so it sort of accelerates our KYC and bank account opening. So it in a byproduct way, I totally believe that it is great asset because it also weans away all the non-serious players who were just throwing money and not seriously for a long term. So it sort of becomes a few serious player business now, number one. Number two is about when you talk about what was the second part about this question? That
yeah, the interoperability that will impact you. So now I think you can
interoperability. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yep. So the interoperability is very clearly whenever you have interoperability in one service vertical over other, you've always seen that the one where the network effects are better, like let's say in cellular, the better network and better services ended up getting the customers. In payments, the better network and better service is effectively about number of places you are accepted, number of places that you have payment acceptance. And I believe that as Paytm, we have the largest merchant network in the country, many times bigger than any nearby any payment network that you can quote about. So we've been a believer, and we've seen that the customers from others are coming towards us, and we totally believe this is how it was supposed to be. So that's why whenever the interoperability question was coming, we were always supportive of it, that customers who have been using other payment instruments should converge towards Paytm side, because it's more useful to keep money in Paytm than any other place.
So you're saying that as a leader in the space, you're in fact benefiting from it, because what we hear is that the industry is in fact lobbying against this regulatory move.
Yeah, I mean, we totally believe in interoperability and KYC, and we've said and we've proactively communicated that. And our belief is that it sort of brings the customers towards highest use case led product, and that is where we sort of have a good position there. So
where are you on the payment bank numbers?
It helps industry also, because customers are not locked.
Yeah, Vijay, where are you on the payment bank numbers? I think you had said that you were going to set up 31 branches, 33 controlling offices, 3,000 access points. How many customers do you have for the payment bank now? Can you give us a sense of what the scale is of the bank?
Yeah, I think my CEO talked a few days back, and she was telling that we are in tens of million customers number, and the official number, we want to keep it for the day when we launch with checking account, saving account also, so that we can share that number. So that's a very healthy number, number one. And number two is about the number of banking points. So branch, ultra low cost branch, control points, and our Paytm Ka ATM points. Right now we've sent RBI requests of 100,000 banking points in the country. So when we formally are talking, the number of places where customers can walk in, deposit cash, take cash, and do the banking is headed towards 100,000 in the first year itself.
Vijay, if I may, the favorite question that almost everybody has for all high growth companies is, what about the funding requirements, and how many rounds of fundings and at what valuations would you envisage doing them? I know you can't give specific numbers, but any thoughts thereof?
Vijay, can I answer this question for you?
You can try, yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it in Hindi film style, Vijay. I'm going to roll up my sleeve. You can't see this. You can't see this, but I'm going to roll up my sleeve and say to Neeraj, "Mere paas Ali Baba hai."
नहीं, मेरे पास माँ है.
Sorry, damn. You outdid me on that one.
All right. So Neeraj, I think it's important to know that any high growth company, like you said, has to have capital access. I think I'm privileged that SoftBank and Alibaba and any of our shareholders are, first of all, we have few shareholders, and second, we have long-term shareholders and with long-term capital access. I think that is one of the most important aspect of whatever the plan that we're building. So there is no secret about it that we will need more capital. But as of now, when we look at our books and our availability of capital, we're totally well capitalized beyond 2020 also, with the numbers that we're talking, investments and the customer growth. Yeah, that said, after 2020, we talk about after 2020.
No, fair call. That's what I wanted to know. No doubts about where you will get the funds from. That's well known. But about when the round of fundings could have happened, but I think you've answered that question as well. Yeah,
Vijay, I know we want to talk to you about Paytm Mall, but we're going to leave that for another day. Today was all about digital payments. It's been a great year for you. Thank you very much for being here on BloombergQuint.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thanks.